Video will be going over how to do division with remainders. So our first question is 72 divided by 5. We draw our bus stop, and then the first number in the sum gets to the bus stop first, so it gets to go inside. The second number in our sum has to wait outside the bus stop. Then we ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 7? It goes once, because 1 times 5 is 5. And 2 times 5 is 10. So 2 times 5 is more than 7. So we say it goes in once, which is 5, with 2 left over because we wanted 7 and we only got 5, which means there are 2 left over. That 2 comes over here to make this 22. How many times does 5 go into 22? Well, if we do 4 times 5 is 20. So 4 goes here. Again, we have some left over because we wanted 22 and we only got to 20, so there are 2 left over. This becomes remainder 2. That R stands for remainder. So it's 14 remainder 2. When you get to level 2 functional skills, you will be doing decimals with the remainder, but for now, that is your answer. So our next sum is 89 divided by 4. Again, we draw our bus stop. 89 goes in the bus stop because it comes first, and the 4 has to wait outside. How many times does 4 go into 8? Twice, because 2 times 4 equals 8. How many times does 4 go into 9? It goes twice with 1 left over. So if we know that 2 times 4 is 8, then we actually have 9. So it's 22 remainder 1. Our next sum is 93 divided by 7. How many times does 7 go into 9? Once, with how many left over? 2, making this 23. How many times does 7 go into 23? 3 times, remainder 2. Because 7 times 3 is 21, we wanted 23. So how many are there left over? 2. 13 remainder 2. Okay, so you can see that now we have a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number. It's exactly the same process. So we draw our bus stop. The number that comes first in the sum gets to the bus stop first, it gets to go inside. The second number has to wait outside. We then ask ourselves, how many times does 3 go into 4? Once, with 1 left over, making this number 18. How many times does 3 go into 18? 6. How many times does 3 go into 7? Twice, with 1 left over, because 2 times 3 is 6. And we wanted 7, so there's 1 left over. 162 remainder 1. Okay, our next sum is 921 divided by 6. How many times does 6 go into 9? So if I go through my 6 times table, 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12. So it can't be 2 because that's too many, it must be 1. With how many left over? Well, if I wanted 9 and I only got 6, I have 3 left over. So my 3 goes there, making this number 32. How many times does 6 go into 32? Well, I know that 5 times 6 is 30, and 6 times 6 is 36. So again, 6 times 6 is 36 is too high. We only want 32. So it must be 5 with 2 left over, making this number 21. How many times does 6 go into 21? It goes 3 times, which is 18. Excuse me. With 3 left over. 153, remainder 3. Okay, so you should now notice that this is a 3-digit number divided by a 2-digit number. These can be quite intimidating. What I would recommend is, because it's 12 times table, if you know your 12 times table, then you can just go through and write it down. If you don't, you're adding 12 each time. Gone wrong already. 2 times 12 is 24, 4 times 12 is 48, 5 times 12 is 60, 6 times 12 is 72, and I'm going to leave it there for now. I could go on and do the rest of them, but I don't know how many I'm going to need, so I'm going to stop there. The first number goes inside our bus stop, and the second number goes outside. So we don't split this number up at all, it stays as 12. So we ask ourselves, how many times does 12 go into 5? 0, it can't. So that 5 then moves over here to make this 53. How many times does 12 go into 53? So this is where I refer to my 12 times table. So if I go to 48, that is small enough that it goes into 53, and 60 is too big, so it must be 4. So, so then how many times does, what is 53 take away 48? There are 5 left over. So how many times does 12 go into 56? It's the same. 4. And then I do 56, take away 48, would leave 8 left over. So it's 44, remainder 8. Now this 0 that we have here is actually just a placeholder. It doesn't actually need to go into our number. So our answer is 44, remainder 8. We have taken that 0 away because this 44 is a whole number and it doesn't need a 0 at the beginning. Okay, so I have my bus stop here, 8, 2, 4, 25 on the outside. Again, I'm going to start by writing down my 25 times table. Now, I don't obviously know my 25 times table, but I know that 1 times 25 is going to be 25, 2 times 25 is going to be double 25, 3 times 25 is going to be 50 plus another 25, which is 75, and 4 times 25 is 100. I'm going to leave it there for now. I can always add on more if I need to later by just adding 25 on each time. So how many times does 25 go into 8? It doesn't, so I put a 0 here. This 8 then moves over here to become 82. How many times does 25 go into 82? If I look at my times tables, 3 times 25 is 75 and 4 times 25 is 100. So 4 is too much, so it has to be 3. And then what's the difference between 75 and 82? So 82 take away 75 is 7. So that 7 goes here, making this 74. How many times does 25 go into 74? Well, it's not going to be 3 because that's 1 too many this time. So it's going to be 2 times 5 is 50, and then 74 take away 50 equals 24. So it's going to be remainder 24. And again, I don't need my 0 at the front, so it's going to be 32, remainder 24.